Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Kabbalah for Everyone. It's great to be here and spend this time with you. We're in the middle of a deep dive on the godly soul. So last episode, we spoke about this first analogy for the godly soul, that the godly soul is a piece of God, and that we compared it to the difference between speaking and like blowing up a balloon. So most of creation was used by metaphor through God's speech. God spoke it and it came to be. Like God said, let there be light, and there was light. But the godly soul was created differently. The godly soul was created by metaphor like God blowing a balloon from God's depth, which means we compared it to God's thought. And so today we're going to go into the second metaphor with regards to the godly soul. We're going to talk about the external versus the internal will. This idea can be understood even better by taking a look at the fundamental concept that is frequently discussed in the teachings of Kabbalah, that each of us has desires. Each of us has things that we want. All of our desires are either internal desires or external desires. And here's the difference between them. An internal desire is something that I truly want. It's something that I really want from the depths of my being. An external desire is something that I want as means to achieve what I truly want. So it's not what I really want. I just want it in order to achieve what I really want. For example, let's say that I want to spend time here studying, and I want it. So the first thing I have to do is I have to clarify the technical details, like, do I have a computer? How do I get onto, this particular aspect, or a phone, or whatever device I'm going to use to be able to spend this time together via the internet. The second thing I have to figure out is when am I going to do it? Am I just going to spontaneously do it? Maybe that's what you're doing now. Or am I going to set time to say, okay, now this is my time. This is my set time of the week that I'm going to spend studying this Kabbalah with you. And then, of course, I have to actually do it. So there's a process to actually you and I spending time together. The same thing with me, right? There was a process with me creating this particular episode for you. I had to think it over. I decide what I was going to do. I actually put together a little bit of an outline so I know from one episode to the next, so it makes sense for you. So there's a process to it. Now, what these really are, they're steps that I have to go through, or that you have to go through in order to achieve what we really want. But what we really want, and the reason why we're going through all these steps, is to be able to spend this time together and to be able to study these incredible ideas together. So since all the preparatory steps only serve as a means to an end, we're going to call them external desires. The purpose for which all those steps are taken is called an internal desire. So the steps that we have to do in order to get something done, that's an external desire. Getting it done, the actual desire that we have to sit and study together, you and I, that's an internal desire. So if we apply this concept to our lives, we're going to see that the majority of our day is invested with actually external desires. We don't spend most of our day invested in internal desires. These are most of the things that we do are things we have to do. But the things that we want to do, which means the internal desires, they're far less frequent. I mean, we like to say that most of our day is taken up with internal desires. Like, I'm spending most of my day doing what I want. I mean, the truth is, Right now that I'm able to actually sit here and talk to you, this is an internal desire. I'm loving every single minute of it. But what else I had to do today in order to get to this wonderful moment of peace, to be able to spend this time studying with you, there were so many other elements, and those were external desires. So the difference between internal desires and external desires can also be applied to God. God's innermost desire is our godly soul. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is subordinate. In other words, the only reason God created the entire world full of plants, full of animals, full of inanimate matter was in order to reach the ultimate goal and purpose, the godly soul within each and every one of us. Every other element of creation, everything else, all the wonderful, beautiful creations, when you see that sunset, it's a beautiful sunset. When you see whatever it is that you appreciate from God's creations, which there is so much to appreciate. When you see that flower blooming, they're amazing. They're incredible elements of creation. But all of those creations were external desires. The only internal desire of creation was your godly soul. Think about that for a moment. The entire world was created for you, but not just for you. The entire world was created for your godly soul, for your godly soul to exist, and for your godly soul to be able to express itself. That's why God created this entire world. It's not the only why. We're going to go into the actual why later, but that is the primal element of creation. That is the internal will of creation. Everything else is external will. So here we have it, the second analogy for the godly soul. The internal will versus the external will, where everything else is external and the godly soul is the only part of creation that is completely internal. I'm going to leave that thought with you for today. Our next time together, we're going to go through the third analogy that I have for the godly soul as part of this wonderful deep dive into the godly soul. But for now, thinking of your godly soul, thinking of God's internal will, that God created your godly soul and all of the great things that you're going to do, everything that you are able to accomplish in this world. I'm thinking of all of that today. And we're going to hold that together in this space. And I'm wishing you a wonderful, an incredible, and a special day. We'll be back very soon. We have a lot more to talk about. Have a great day.